You know, when you look at leadership today, it just feels chaotic, right? Like we're all in this constant battle for control. But what if there's another way? A path that isn't just about strategy, but about connecting to something much deeper, something more like soul. Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. This idea of dharmic leadership.
Okay, so let's be real. We're all trying to lead through what feels like nonstop disruption. Decisions have to be made in a snap, and half the time it feels like our core values are just baggage we're dragging along. It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? When things get crazy, is the answer really to just tighten our grip and try to control everything even more?
So this really breaks it down into two totally different ways of operating. On one hand, you've got traditional leadership. It's all about seeking control, relying on the data, and basically just reacting to whatever fire is burning brightest. But then you have dharmic leadership. This is a whole other ballgame. It's about seeking stillness, tapping into consciousness, and from that place, responding with clarity. And let me tell you, that tiny shift in language, from reacting to responding, that changes everything.
All right, so let's dig into that first path a little deeper. The one that's all about control. We're going to call this the crisis of control.
I mean, if you're in any kind of leadership role right now, you know this. It's volatile, it's reactive, and frankly, it can feel ethically messy. The pressure is just insane, and those old-school command and control playbooks, they're just not cutting it anymore. They're breaking down under the weight of all this complexity.
So, okay, if the old way is broken, what's the alternative? Where do we go from here? Well, this is where we introduce the solution we're exploring today, the Dharmic Path.
And this quote, man, it just nails it. Leadership becomes more than strategy. It becomes soul work. This is the core idea. It's about shifting our focus from this external game of chess and tactics to a deeply internal practice of just getting aligned.
Okay, soul work sounds really nice, right? But what does that actually mean? How do you do it? Well, it's not just a fuzzy concept. This whole model is built on three very solid anchors.
The very first anchor is a concept called Chit. It's a Sanskrit word that means pure awareness. Now think of it like this. It's that part of you, that deep, still, quiet place inside that just watches. It's not your emotions, it's not your ego, it's not the frantic thoughts. It's the witness to all of it. And that is the source of real discernment, real clarity, and true vision.
Okay, so once you tap into that awareness, that Chit, the next anchor naturally flows from it, and that's Dharma. Now, you might have heard this word before, but it's so much more than just duty. Think of it as your purposeful duty. It's your internal GPS, your inner compass that points you toward ethical decisions and helps you show up in your role with unshakable integrity.
And the third piece of the puzzle, Seva, is where the rubber meets the road. It's where all this inner work becomes visible to the outside world. Seva means selfless service. But, and this is so important, it's not about obligation. It's not another task on your checklist. It's the natural, overflowing expression of your purpose. When you act from this place, you automatically build trust, you show you genuinely care, and you create a culture that can actually last.
So you can see how these three aren't separate things, they're a system. It all starts with that inner awareness, with Chit. That gives you the clear vision. That vision then points you toward your purpose, your Dharma, which guides how you act with integrity. And finally, that purpose gets expressed out in the world through service, through Seva, which is what builds the trust and the culture around you. It's this beautiful, connected flow that takes leadership from being just transactional, a tit for tat, to something truly transcendent.
I absolutely love this way of thinking about Dharma. It's like a tree, right? The roots go deep, grounding you in some kind of universal truth. The trunk, well, that's your character, growing stronger with every single ethical choice you make. And the branches? Those are all the roles you play in life. Leader, partner, friend, parent, and you fulfill them with integrity because they're all connected to that same strong trunk. It's such a powerful reminder that this is about alignment, not just achievement. So, to lead like that tree, to be that rooted and that aligned, it's not something you can just decide to do. It takes a really profound internal shift.
And that's the journey we need to talk about now. This move from ego to essence.
So what does this actually look like, day to day? Well, let's put them side by side. When you're in that ego-led state, you're always clinging. You're reacting. You're defending your position. You're trying to accumulate more power, more praise. But when you shift and start leading from your essence, the whole vibe changes. You're not clinging, you're listening. You're not reacting, you're discerning. You're not accumulating, you're aligning and uplifting. It's a complete transformation of behavior.
So the big question is, how do you make that shift? It starts by seeing through what some call the greatest illusion. And what's that? It's the belief that you are your body, that you are your mind, that you are the story you tell about yourself. You know, your job title, your list of accomplishments, all your worries and anxieties. We get so wrapped up in that story, we think it's who we are. And when you start to see through that illusion, it leads to this incredible, liberating flip in perspective. You know that famous line, "I think, therefore I am"? Well, this path flips it right on its head to a much deeper truth. I am, therefore I think. Think about that. Your fundamental being, that pure awareness, that Chit we talked about, it comes first. Your existence is the foundation. Your thoughts, they're just clouds passing through the sky of your being. You are the sky, not the clouds.
Okay, wow, that's a big idea. So let's bring this all back down to earth. How do we take all this and actually use it in the real world, in our jobs, in our lives? That's what this final section is all about, leading from within. So what does Dharmic leadership look like in action? Well, it means when chaos hits, you choose presence instead of just blind reaction. It means when you're looking at the quarterly report, you're searching for meaning, not just crunching the numbers. It means your courage doesn't come from trying to control every outcome, it comes from that deep well of inner awareness. And service, it stops being an obligation and becomes your #1 strategy for building resilience. Now, if you're a leader thinking, how can I bring this to my team or my company? Well, you have to be the one to start. You have to model these principles, and not just once in a while, but visibly and consistently. It can be as simple as integrating small daily rituals that build clarity, things like mindful journaling. And maybe most importantly, it means building in intentional pauses. Right in the middle of a high-stakes strategy meeting, creating a space for reflection, for wisdom to actually show up.
When you boil it all down, this whole journey comes back to this one simple, beautiful truth. Leadership begins where presence meets purpose. It's not about pretending you have all the answers. It's not about having absolute certainty, which is impossible anyway. It's about letting your decisions be guided by clarity. And that right there is the game-changing shift. From the crushing pressure of needing to know everything to having a deep trust in your ability to find the way from a clear, centered place.
So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. You know, traditional leadership is always asking, what do you have? What power do you wield? What control can you exert? But this Dharmic path, it asks a completely different question. A much deeper and I think much more important question. In the moments that truly matter, how do you show up?